Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So it's your host Jessica M. Harris here, and I'm excited. I'm pumped. We're back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about transparency is key and how it's truly just needed in this hour, just more than ever. If you caught the reel that I did yesterday, it was telling you your transparency is needed. Why? Because it's in your obedience. Now, I need you to follow me here because I was looking like, okay, God, but how is this going to help? Now, granted, yes, I do know how it helps, but I wanted to ask a question because I really wanted to understand even more what he was saying to me in this, like in that whole moment of just like, be more transparent, be more transparent. And it was interesting because God was just reminding me how with everything that I've ever been through, everything that I've ever gone through, especially within like the last 3 years, I think it was, since like the whole pandemic took place. And yeah, y'all heard me, pandemic, since it took place, right? He was showing me that every situation that I've been in, I was always bold enough to talk about it. And he was rewinding back the time for me to understand just how bold I was. He was reminding me with my son, when my son was in the hospital. Man, we done created a whole blog about his journey, and we was sharing it so much so that it actually ended up reaching people in different parts of the world, never mind just America. That blog went international. Point two. How? By me simply just sharing the journey, sharing the stories, and just the testimony of what it was like to go through that experience. And I saw the growth rapidly. And I'm not even just speaking on the growth part, but I mean just the fact that it was literally able to just help people from different parts of the world. And that's what he was looking for. He was looking to just have these moments be transparent. Because sometimes we think and we see a person like, oh, they're good, or oh, X, Y, and Z, but you don't know what they're going through in the background. So peep game. That's what he did in that example. The other example he took me to was the Bible. Now, he specifically was showing me everyone in the Bible. He's like, think about it. All of you guys here right now, right? We be looking at the journeys in the Bible from the people like Abraham and how he left his family. But how could we sit there and have that example if he wasn't transparent on his journey? Remember, he set out to this foreign land. He didn't know where he was going and all these pieces, and yet he did it. And God allowed us to be able to be a witness to his different stages, from when it was him and his big clan, with Lot and everybody, to when they split off with Lot, to when he sat there and was telling God, like, God, but if you just find one righteous person, can you still save them, and all these pieces, to the point where even the angel came and was telling him like, yeah, by the way, you're gonna have a baby, X, Y, and Z, and I know you're 100 years old. God allowed us to be able to witness the transparency in those moments, right? Remember, Sarah laughed. So that's a transparent moment. They didn't have to add that, but they did. They allowed us to be able to be a witness to these different things because they really wanted us to be able to understand that these people who we see in the Bible, even they had moments where it was like, huh? What's about to happen, right? But that's the same thing with us. Sometimes we have all these moments that take place in our real life situations, and we don't realize just how meaningful they're going to be to the next person. We know that Abraham was told that he'll be a father to nations, but I wonder, did he really understand the impact and how long it would be of people, like what the years and decades and centuries of people who would come after him, who would still be reading about his story even today and being able to relate to what he's talking about and what he went through with leaving his family and all these different parts and having to hope and wait on a miracle and things of that nature, right? Our transparency allows others to be able to get through what they're going through as well. And it also empowers us because we are able to take control of the narrative. Yes, God is the author and the finisher of our stories and of our lives, absolutely. But it allows us to take control of it, right? When you're able to speak on it, when you're able to share your emotions and share how you actually feel and not just what someone else believes that you may be feeling in that moment, right? So there's a difference in that aspect. We see in the Bible where, yes, they describe Sarah as laughing, but at the same time, you see in the Bible where it's literally telling us, but he still believed. He didn't let his old age cause him to waver in his faith. He still believed and he still had hope. That's a very transparent moment. These two people together in the same household, and yet somehow, some way, they had two totally different responses to the miracle that was at hand that they had to hope and believe in. Like, that's a very transparent situation. I personally am single right now, but for those of you who have spouses, I know me and my relationship when I had in the past, right? There are times where something will come up and we would handle it differently. That's a very transparent moment because think about it. They weren't in agreement necessarily on what the outcome was because she was already doubting it when she left. Can you imagine their talks and their conversations past that point? I can. Like, man, do you believe this? Like all these other things, right? But that's being transparent. That's showing us what's really taking place. So I share all of this simply, and I know the sirens are still blaring, y'all. You know, we outside in the elements. But anyways, I share this all to say to you simply, you being transparent and you sharing your story and you getting it out there for others to hear and for others to see makes a big difference, and it makes a major impact. And it helps, honestly. I remember when I was sharing the story of how my relationship ended, God sat there and allowed me not only to just share that story in my journal to myself, but he had me write a whole book, and not just a book on the relationship ending, but just in a book in a general sense of the whole, just the transition and the transformation of myself. There was growth and maturity there that was needed in a general sense, and he allowed me to be able to just write from a healed perspective as well. And when doing so, I was invited onto platforms, being able to speak on those experiences and speak on those journeys. Why? Because there was something there that others could relate to. We don't understand that our stories have the power to shift. Y'all, I don't know why there's like all these trains and all these sirens all of a sudden, because I promise when I walked out here, there was nothing happening. Anyways, I'm sharing all this to simply say this. Sometimes we have to understand the power in our stories, the power in sharing our testimonies. When you share what it is that you have been through, it makes a big difference. When people are able to see and what you've gone through, they're able to sit there and gain a different perspective and different insights, and it encourages and it empowers each of us. The word literally tells us that you're not the only one who's suffering, that you're not the only one who's going through that thing, but that you suffer also, in fact, with your brothers and sisters in Christ. So being able to say, like, you know what, I'm not the only one going through X, Y, and Z truly is empowering. When I watch other people sharing their testimonies of something similar that I have gone through, it encourages me to know, all right, you know what, I may be going through X, Y, and Z, but I can get through this. Why? Because I already seen that God is able. And it's the reassurance that not only is he able, but that he's able to accomplish and perform the very things that he said he'll already do. Like, that's the type of God that we serve. We serve the almighty God, the one true living God, El Shaddai. Come on now, he's Elohim. He is Alpha and Omega. He's the beginning and the end. Like, he is that God. And as long as we understand that, and as long as we know that part, man, we're always going to be okay. Because like he says in his word, he personally goes before us, and that we don't have to be afraid to share our stories. We don't have to be discouraged. Why? Because he's already with us. It tells us in the word, Revelations 12:11, what? We overcome by the blood of the Lamb, absolutely, but also by the sharing of our testimonies. Your testimonies are needed. It's not just like we want to do it, but you have to do it. So be transparent. Show people the process. Listen, I'm not saying you got to show everybody the nitty gritty, like all in full, unless that's what God is saying to do. But I am saying show people the process. Show people the ups and downs. Show people where things didn't go well. Show people where, you know, maybe you had to do a do-over on a certain situation or a certain, I don't know, whatever it is that you're working on. Show people. People have to see that everything isn't always perfect up front. I don't know how many artists or how many athletes or how many people that we see today in their perfect prime position, and we're looking and we're just like, wow, man, they did so amazing. Oh, that athlete, like, wow, they won X amount of champions and things of that nature. And that's great and all, but the reality is this: that athlete took time. They had to go through a process first, and before they was able to get that trophy or win that championship, they had to sit there and go through training. They had to sit there and go through practices. They had to sit there and go through some wins and go through some losses. They had to go through some things in order for them to be prepared for the journey that they're on right now. But if we can't take into account that there's a journey that gets you to that victory, then we'll be sitting there always trying to come against something that's not necessarily there. Listen, you trying to come up against a perfect situation isn't realistic, but you always making the strides to make yourself better than what you once were before. That is what's going to make a difference for you. That's what's going to enhance you. That's what's going to empower you. That's what's going to allow you to be able to see yourselves in such a different manner, in a different way. And I know this to be true because I see it in my own life. I see it in the lives of myself, those around me. Like, you see it every day in everybody. Any person who is successful right now, ask them how they got there. Ask them what their steps were. Ask them what the process was. And I promise you, they'll tell you that they probably failed about 10 times before they got to the one time it actually made sense and it actually worked out. And even so, there's people who I literally have heard conversations of who were like, I used to make X amount of money, but I lost it all. Listen, there's people who have had to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild time and time again, but they didn't allow their situation or circumstance stop them from doing it. Instead, they allowed it to be a stepping stone in the right direction, and they knew how to pivot. So that is the end of Jess's, I don't know what to call this, tea talk, listen, afternoon talk. Chat, who knows? This may be a conversation that moves forward for the rest of this week. I don't know. We'll see. But as always, if you are a woman of Christ who is looking to be empowered and inspired with other faith-driven women right now to amplify your voice, then I invite you to go ahead and join our community in the chat below, Igniting Your Glow. And I also want to encourage you to sign up for an empowerment call today as well. Right now, they are going to be complimentary for the month of November, so you don't want to miss out on joining us on those calls, getting in the community, and really just getting yourself in position, because there's so much more that's coming down the pipeline. So peace and blessings to each and every one of you guys, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace for now.